Hey everybody, welcome back to Battle Ready Inc. So today's deck profile for you, we've got Beelstarmon, and this is not like last format for EX2 where I was getting kind of creative with working in the Beelzemon stuff that came out in EX2. No, this is pure Beelstar. I mean, just what you expect Beelstar a deck to be, this is what you're gonna get. Okay, I'm just focusing in on doing our options, just hammering in with our level 4s, and just going to town. This is very much a meta kind of counter deck for the current meta. It's very good against these OTK decks, as well as it's good against other decks that are also very fast. Something like, armors, that sort of thing, Magnamon X, things like that. Even kind of counters itself. It's the mirror match with this is pretty crazy. Sometimes it's a little bit RNG dependent on those the security options, but either way, this deck is definitely built to go against this meta. The Beelstar is probably my favorite purple deck that I've ever played. Out of every deck we've ever done on the channel that's been purple focused, this is definitely my favorite one. Also, though, our new memory marker featured this month is going to be Gummymon. So if you're playing maybe a green deck, or you're just a Gargomon or Terriermon fan in general, this is a great memory marker to get. This is handmade out of clay by my wife, hand painted as well. Also complements our Cocomon really nicely if you got our Cocomon. Really, really cool memory marker. You can find this on our Etsy page, link in the description below. Also there, you can find all of our previous memory markers that we've featured on the channel, like the Cocomon, as well as some of our Battle Ready Inc. merch. Alright, so as always, I've got the whole deck pulled up for you guys here, so you can just kind of see everything, so that way it makes sense as we go along. I think this is the best layout that we could do, so I don't like doing the only 4 cards at a time anymore. So you can just kind of see what we got here. We got a nice level 4 package, nice rookie package, heavy option package, of course. I think the biggest difference between my deck and other decks is going to be kind of mostly the ratios, and a little bit of the rookies will be a little bit different depending on a few things. And then also we're working in the Ogremons again, because man, EX1 Ogremon, when it pops off, oh my god, it's so good. But we'll get into that. Let's do this card by card. First, we got Pogumon here, just on deletion, trash the top 2 cards of your deck. Just another good way to get mills. We run a lot of cards in this build. I'm a huge fan of Dobermon. We can just add stuff back. We can add tons and tons of things back. If it gets milled, it's okay. We can just add it back to hand later. Beelstar early game isn't really that important. So if we mill a Beelstar early game, not a problem. No worries. We have plenty of ways to grab it back. So it's totally fine. So I don't mind the Pogumon there as our 5th one. But we do have the Demimare as our main egg. So on deletion, draw 1, trash 1. So you get the hand, the fixing your hand, and that's a big theme with this. Same with the scatter mode and the Gabumon that we're going to talk about. Just every time you draw those options, just discard those options. It doesn't matter what option it is. Well, maybe not the calling, but all your 7-cost options, just throw them suckers in the trash. It's fine. You only really want to ever play your options if you're playing them off a Beelstar. So getting them in the trash is super, super crucial. Like, occasionally, maybe you want to hold on to a Fly Bullet. Maybe. But that's very, very rare. So yeah, just trash everything with all these. So of course we've got the Gabumon that complements that with the inheritable of on deletion, draw 2, trash 1. As our first rookie here, you notice we are not running the blue Gabumon X. We featured it in the feature match this week at the beginning of the week, if you saw that. It's okay. It's a really nice 0 Evo, get a draw, makes your Gabumon inheritable live with your whatever baby you've got on it, so not triggers all these on deletion effects for literally 0 memory. The issue I kind of ran into was just that I really want to evo my level 4s on some stuff sometimes, and most of the stuff in here I really like just kind of evoing on top of. Whether I'm even just passing turn, I can evo a scatter mode or a Dobermon on top of these guys to pass turn, and it's okay. If my opponent wants to pop those guys, sure, go for it. You just help me more. So passing turn by evoing your level 4s on top of these guys is not a big deal. So I ended up cutting the Gabumon just because of that. It just wasn't that needed. Yeah, the extra draw 1 and then making our inheritables live. And then you could activate the Kakaitis, but we have the blue tamer for that. So it just felt very unnecessary. It was a neat gimmick, but just unnecessary. I think that's just the best way to put it. There's just other things that we could run instead of it. We got the 4 Impmon. This is your on play trash card in your hand. Add a Basically, you're going to add your Beelstar back to hand with your Impmon here. This is one of our many ways to recycle this. I know a lot of people that have been cutting this one down either to 2, or some people have been cutting this to 0 in favor of other cards like the Calling from Darkness and the Dobermon as their only ways to bring back from trash. I mean that's fine, I guess, but I like the ability to control what I'm like. I can discard. It gives me another outlet to discard things. I get that guaranteed Beelstar back. If I've got a memory fixer, putting me to 3 late game, I can just play out this Impmon, putting myself to 0, add that Beelstar to hand, play the Beelstar for 0. Like that 3 play cost is super like relevant with a memory fixer, so I really like this. There's no like setup needed. I don't need it Evo a Dobermon or you know, specifically use Calling from Darkness at a certain time, anything like that. Especially if I have a decent field, I don't want to pop anything. Maybe Calling from Darkness isn't optimal at that time, so I still like the Impmons here. Next we got the Gazimon. This is our memory blocker for purple. Super powerful this format. Memory blockers against Alphamon just really ruins their day. They really hate it. So I really like the Gazimon just because of that alone, but also because we have the new Gazimon X. And so Digivolve for 0 on top of your Gazimon, and then when Digivolving, trash the top 3 cards of your deck. So mill 3 for 0 Evo is super good. And what I like about the Gazimon X over the Gabumon is it's purple. So even if I do this little shenanigan trick, I can still just then Evo my level 4 on top of it, and it's fine. Or say I open up only Gazimon X in the starting turn, and I just need something to Evo in Raising Area, I can still just Evo this in Raising Area and then drop my, you know, Eismon on top of this. Not a big deal. It still works as a regular old rookie in Raising Area. And that's what I like more than the Gabumon. So, and just when you do actually get its Evo when Digivolving effect, it's also extremely good. So really like the X Antibody Gazimon for sure. Really complements this deck and its strategies. We got the 4 Eismon, of course, your scatter modes here on Deletion, draw 3, trash 2. Goes with all of our other ones that we talked about, the Gabu and the Demimera. So doing a whole lot of that same stuff, just filtering out your hand, drawing through your deck as fast as possible. Dobermon is kind of like just another form of doing that same thing. It's going to have the on deletion, trash the top 3 cards of your deck. So you still get cards into trash. Now they're blind mills, so you get less control than say you do a scatter mode. But sometimes scatter mode isn't really the best choice because say your hand is all good stuff that you need to keep. So you might not want to go into a scatter mode. Maybe a Dobermon would be better, especially late game, because then you can return 1 purple Digimon card or 1 purple Tamer card from your trash to your hand. The Tamer part in this build isn't too important. When we were playing Iron Mako, it was kind of neat to get that Iron Mako back out to use with like our Beelzamon, like our blast modes and things like that. But not like a super niche thing. Mainly the returning the purple Digimon is the important part. It's a great, fantastic way to recycle those Beelstars back. I do have 2 Vilemons in here just for blockers. I mean, plenty of times blockers have just been a little bit important. Against, like, I don't know, hybrid decks. Yellow Hybrid, I think, is still a completely viable deck. And 6,000 DP blocker is pretty solid against that. As a Yellow Hybrid player, like, people playing out 6,000 DP blockers is annoying. Because I usually have to waste cards clearing them, and which I just dislike doing. It's just a 2 of. When you need it, you need it. I mean, you know what I mean. You've been there. That if you saw in the feature match, there was an opportunity there at the end where maybe they could have won if they had used a Beelstar to swing over the level 5, cleared the field, slap down a Beelstar, nail bone, bring out a blocker, and then just pass turn with that, and they might have could have won because of it. And sometimes you just need a blocker or 2. I like the 2 ofs. I don't really like playing cards at 1 ofs. I mean, we've talked about this a bunch of times in the past. That's why you'll see in this deck, the only 1 of is literally the baby, and that's just because, I mean, you basically have to because you can only run 5 babies. But everything else, we're at 2 of. I think 2 of is solid because you're pretty much guaranteed to see it every game. Beelstar does go through their deck rapidly, right? But if you're doing blind mills and things like that, sometimes it doesn't always work out in the best way. But 2 of, stuff feels solid. You'll pretty much see every single card in your deck every single game. At least one copy of it every single game at a 2 of in this deck. So, of course, we got the promotes to go along with that. Rush on a level 4. Fantastic when you go Nailbone with Beelstar for free. Play out promote, swing, it dies in security. You just play out another Beelstar, play out the Nailbone, play out that same promote, swing again. Sometimes it doesn't die though, and maybe you don't have like a Calling from Darkness to pop it. I think that's a really good point of why you need a second promote though, because of that very reason. And then sometimes also you'll have it in hand and you want to play out a level 4 or a rookie, and then you want to evo the one in your hand on top of it to get your second one in rotation. That you played the Nailbone, brought back the rookie and a promote swings, it lives. You evo the second promote on top of that rookie that you brought back, and then that swings. So I think 2 of promote is mandatory, absolutely, no questions. Like if you don't want to run the Vilemon, okay, whatever. If you don't want to run Ogremon, okay, whatever. If you're not running at least 2 promotes in Beelstar, how are you winning? It's almost the win con of this deck. I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. It is like this close to being the win con of this deck. It is that important for those game finishers for sure. But I do have the Ogremons in here as well. I think this is a fantastic early game card. If you can't get into your scatter modes or Dobermons, this is 100% the other level 4 that I prefer to have, because when attacking, I can trash a card in my hand to give this Digimon security attack +1. So I get to discard those irrelevant cards, whatever they may be. Most of our 7-cost options, just discard those. Give him security attack +1. He's only at 5k, but on those moments when he does check that second one, oh my god, chef's kiss. It is so fantastic. It's so much value. 2 checks out of Ogremon feels great. And when he survives the second check, oh my god. Because then the opponent basically has to answer him. Because if not, that's like when Gilmon survives swinging into security with red-yellow hybrid. It's like that rookie survives security, and he got to draw you 2 cards, clear to security, and he's still alive. Like, you cannot allow him to swing a second time. And that's exactly the same thing with Ogremon. If he survives both security checks, the opponent has to answer him, because he's literally going to win you the game otherwise. So I really like Ogremon. I just think he's a really cool addition to this deck. He is a flex spot, 100%. Very personal preference. I just think he's got some really nice, in the right matchup, some really nice flavor to him. So I'm a big fan. Of course, we got the Beelstar. If you're here, you should know what Beelstar does, but you can reduce the play cost by 1 for every 3 Musketeers card and 7-cost option in your trash. It doesn't matter what the color is. That's why we have this black, red, and blue in here, as well as purple, because it doesn't discriminate. And then on play, I can return an option card with a memory cost of 7 or less from my trash to my hand, then use one option card with a memory cost of 7 or less from my hand without paying its memory cost. I think that's also kind of just something people kind of gloss over. Whatever you choose from trash doesn't have to be the card you play. If you've just got that card in hand that you need to play, you can still play the Beelstar, add something else, and then play that card instead. You can do that. And then before we get into our 7-cost options, I do have the Calling from Darkness, which we talked about a few times. 1 play cost, delete one of your Digimon, then return up to 2 purple Digimon cards from your trash to your hand. This is a super clutch card. I think this is almost pretty much a must-clued in Beelstar also, because it is so good. How many times have your scatter modes or your Dobermons survived the security check, and it is so imperative that they died that you literally basically can't continue your turn until they die. And so Calling from Darkness, that alone is fantastic. Pop it, get that guaranteed deletion, trigger all those on deletion effects. Great. But also just grabbing cards back from trash, all your Digimon, your Beelstars, grabbing those back, grabbing back more scatter modes or Dobermons, that's great. Even in the right situations, maybe a Gazimon, because you really need that memory blocker going against Alphamon, because you know our Yukin's about to come out, and you got to get this Gazimon in play ASAP. Impmon, I really need to recycle. I mean, I guess no reason to really grab Impmon. If you got Calling, you can just grab the Beelstar directly, but you know what I mean. Just grab the exact card you need in that situation. Now, be careful with Calling, because say I pop an Eismon scatter mode with him and that scatter mode goes to trash, you've finished resolving the Calling from Darkness before you start basically a new chain of effects. So you'll finish the Calling from Darkness, you'll add the cards to hand, then you'll trigger all your on deletion effects. So if you delete scatter mode and then add scatter mode back to hand, you don't get that scatter mode on deletion effect because he's not in trash anymore to resolve his effect. So, and that works for everything. Anything that you pick from Calling from Darkness. If you pop it and it has an on deletion effect and you grab it back, you don't get that effect. So just keep that in mind, okay? Doberman is a little bit different, though, when he's deleting himself. So on deletion, he goes to the trash. Then you mill cards, and then you add. So now if you Calling from Darkness and pop Doberman and then add Doberman back from Calling from Darkness, you don't get the Doberman effect. I know it's a little wonky, but when he deletes himself from, or when he gets deleted, you can add himself back to hand off of his own effect, because the mill happens first, and then the card comes from trash. So you can actually add Doberman off of his own deletion effect. Next we got Fly Bullet, just delete 6 costs or lower. Pretty solid card, especially in this format. Really, really strong against Grandis. Grandis really hates this card. Fantastic for that. Kind of garbage again other matchups, depending. I mean, Yellow Hybrid, it's fine, I guess, as long as it's not like a Susanomon or a like a Death X or something like that. But Alphamon's got the deletion protection. So that's kind of rough. Also, they really like to go into their Aoryuken before they swing. And then so you don't get the Fly Bullet effect. So I didn't want to go too ham on the Fly Bullet. 3 felt really solid. I don't need 4 because it's good in some matches but bad in others. So don't want to go too high end on it. So look at some of our other removal here. I guess I'll go ahead and jump to the Cocytus. Cocytus is my fallback when Fly Bullet doesn't work. Some other choices are Trump Sword. You could use Trump Sword instead of Cocytus. The issue is Trump Sword works really good against D-Reaper because before the security check happens, it unsuspends. So Trump Sword will work really nicely against D-Reaper. However, Grandis and Alphamon both don't unsuspend until after the security checks. So Trump Sword will get hit, has no targets, goes to the trash. Then the Aoryuken and Grandis unsuspend and get a swing again. So Trump Sword falls flat in those matches, but again, good against D-Reaper. The other one I saw was, I believe it's Terror Clusters, the green option that bottom decks cards that are suspended. So that's really nice against Grandis, and it's also very nice against Alphamon because it dodges that deletion effect as well as the no security or no DP minusing that the Dorgreymon provides. So that option works pretty nicely in that situation, but again, doesn't work against D-Reaper. So Trump Sword and Terror Clusters, both fantastic cards. They just don't work in the same matchup, whereas Cocytus hits both decks, or all 3 decks, I should say, all 3 OTK decks, Cocytus hits. Now, it is only a bounce to hand, so they can reuse it, but for the most part, the decks that you're hitting that Cocytus is important for, they're so in bad shape after that. Grandis getting bounced back to hand, they've got to rebuild a whole new stack, get all that digibursting material back, everything like that, get another Grand Kawagamon in play. That's a big setup for them. Aoryuken, same thing. You bounce an Aoryuken in hand and you send all that stuff to trash before they can bottom deck it. Huge hit on them. So and even D-Reaper, hitting the D-Reaper back to hand, all those searchers go to trash, right? Nothing's under Mother anymore, so they can't just play out Reaper again because they have to rebuild their Mother entirely, and that deck cannot put 2 Reapers in a game. It's just I've never seen it happen for them to build up an entire second Mother and then play out another Reaper. There's just no way. I cannot imagine how slow you have to be to let that happen. Like, that's just mind-boggling. So Cocytus, I think, is the best choice for removal over the other ones. Second, of course, to Fly Bullet as well. So jumping back over here, though, to our other level 7s, we've got Nailbone. This is, like I said, kind of like the WinCon with Promote here. So you may play 1 purple level 3 Digimon card and 1 purple level 4 Digimon from your trash without paying memory costs. You don't get any on-play effects, but that's okay. So you just play out the promotes here, and you start swinging for game. You play out a rookie, and then you Evo your promote in hand on top of that rookie and swing with that. Nailbone, very powerful card. Also, that we run the Vilemon in here, just because, if you need to recycle it, and put up a little bit of defense in an emergency situation. You can't win, but you're about to lose. You know, bringing back a Vilemon isn't too bad either. So I like the Nailbone at a 3 of. Security effect, you may play one purple level 4 Digimon card or lower from your trash. So that's pretty solid also. It gets hit in security. You can bring out a Vilemon, or maybe you don't need to bring out a Vilemon and you just get to bring out like a Scatter Mode or a Dobermon. That's still very, very plausible. Or Gazimon in the right situations. You know, Nailbone's a fantastic card. Love Nailbone so much. Really great card. I've got two, Gewalt Schwarmer. W's are pronounced as V's in German. Delete all your opponent's play costs of 7 or less. Why do I have 2 of this in here in this format? Reaper. It's just absolute cancer to D-Reaper decks. They bring out multiple Jerrys, the feet, all that stuff, and just play cost 7 or less. You just delete all of it. So it's a really, really nice board wipe against those decks. So I like it at a 2 of. See it when I need to see it, use it when I need to use it. Pretty solid card. We also have the Happy Bullet Showering. So delete all your opponent's Digimon with the lowest DP. This is an interesting one. So this is really nice in those really kind of niche situations where your opponent puts out a level 7 and that's all they have on field, and you can go Happy Bullet Showering to clear it. If you saw the feature match, they used this to clear the Death X. The Death X got played for like 5, and it was the only thing on field, and Happy Bullet Showering just cleared it off, no problem. So it's really nice for those niche situations where you can manage it like that. Again, I like it at a 2 of just so I can see it, but it's very much kind of like a 1 of style card. Both of these are kind of the 1 ofs that you could argue just, again, running them at 1 of, but just me personally, I like to just see them at 2, so that way I can guarantee I see them every single game for whenever I need them. And that's the main option lineup. And then our blue, so that way we can use the Kakaitis when it's not getting hit in security. We have Kirashiro here from what is this? Ghost Game. So he's a 4 play cost memory fixer, which is pretty nice. But where he's better than our other ones is we actually get to use his effects sometimes, whereas a lot of the other blue tamers that we've used in the past, specifically the memory fixers, have not been that useful. But when you attack with a Digimon that has Jellymon in its name, or is level 5 or higher, i.e. our Beelstarmons, if you have 7 or fewer cards in hand, you may suspend this tamer to draw 1. So that's really nice, just an extra draw. Like, Beelstar typically, its hand size isn't like crazy at all. You do a lot of discarding and things like that. Hard playing things as well, so you're not getting any kind of draws when you're doing all these hard plays. So getting some bonus draws is pretty nice. I just got the 3 of in here. That feels pretty decent. I don't want to go too high on this, but I also don't want to go too low on it either. Memory fixers are nice, so every memory fixer I pretty much always just run at 3, unless there's like really odd situations where I might run 2 memory fixers, and that'd be something in like a Black or Greymon deck where I can run the tamers that reduce Evo costs. Then I could maybe get away with running a little bit less memory fixers, but where it's the only tamer in the deck, yeah, 3 memory fixers pretty much always super solid. And even if you get excess, you can always just discard them if you need to, so you just use them as discard fodder instead of like some more important things. And that is the deck. Like I said, this is my favorite purple deck. Beelstarmon is super awesome, super waifu material for sure. And I just love the design. Like, literally the design is cool, the bullets and everything like that. Very, very cool. Just art scheme. But the playstyle also just feels very, very unique and very different compared to a lot of other decks in this format and what they do. No other deck like works like Beelstar deck does, and I think that's gives it great boons, and can get kind of between Beelstar decks, the differences between players really shows. Like for me, like running Ogremon, right? That's a big one for me that not a whole lot of people do anymore, is running the Ogremons, as well as like the Vilemons. Like, everyone's got their own little touches that they like to do when they play a lot of this deck, that like changes from player to player, and just Beelstar is really cool, and I really, for the most part, like pretty much all the players that play this deck that are committed to it. So mad respect for sure for people still playing Beelstar. And if you made it this far in the video, please like it if you haven't already, and subscribe. If you made it this far in the video and you're seeing this right now and you're not subscribed, come on, like, from one Beelstar fan to another, please become a subscriber and like the video.